get together with students and just drink coffee and talk about library stuff as an attempt to get to know you all. And now we are sort of moving them online, and we record them so that we can put them up on our YouTube channel so that people can watch them later if they are interested in just hearing librarians talk about library stuff. So much shorter than our older format. We're going to just talk about a topic we've selected, and we can have a chat, follow up, answer questions, whatever happens. I see we have a guest who is a non-librarian, or at least not a known librarian. He might be a librarian somewhere else. L might stand for librarian. I don't know. So the topic for this this month, we wanted to talk about study skills, which we've talked about this before, but it's important to all of us, particularly myself, as I am in the first semester of a new degree, and Lorene is in, I think, the last semester of her degree. The start of a semester is a great time to sit and reassess how you study, where you study, what your study habits are, and we all try to start out on a good foot. So this is the great time to talk about that. And I combed through a lot of our library resources and also a lot of websites to find sort of the best ideas for good studying. And I'm going to pop over into the chat and put up a link. I actually created a study guide or a research guide, LibGuide, on study skills to kind of put all these things together in one place. So I'm gonna chat for a little. I'm gonna monopolize the conversation for a minute to talk about my LibGuide, and then we can all sort of jump in and share. So some of the things that I think are most important that I picked up, particularly for our students, is to try and set a regular time, a regular place that you study, so that you don't find that you are grabbing, random amounts of time in random places. Go ahead and take this time now before you're in the depth of all your classes and figure out when your best scheduled study time is. And something especially that's come up with the pandemic is a lot of our students used to rely on places on campus to study that they have less access to now. So they're having to study at home or in a shared space, like with their roommates, which I completely I sympathize with. Some things you can strategize with to make that a little easier is sit down and have a conversation with your roommates, and maybe, if you can, set a time for the apartment will have a study hour from X time to X time, maybe 3 to 4 p.m. on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday is quiet study time, and we all have our music off and we study. Whatever works for you guys, but actually have those conversations is a great way to at least mitigate some of the challenges of studying in a shared space. So set those times and those rules and expectations with your roommates, and we'll get you started on a really good place for the semester. Some other things on the LibGuide to check out. We have some great books on study skills that recommend strategies or ways of breaking up your topic so you can study it in smaller bits so you absorb it better. There's a great course on study skills in LinkedIn Learning, which I've linked to on there. If you don't know, McDermott Library, with assistance from other people on campus, is paying for LinkedIn Learning access for the university. So as a UTD student, you have access to LinkedIn Learning classes, online courses, and the actual study skills course is pretty good. So there's some great resources for you on there. That's my spiel. I'd love to hear from some of the other people in attendance, see if there's any particularly exciting study tips that they've come across or things that they've discovered that didn't work, or anecdotes related to studying. I'd love to hear some of that.
Well, I will go. I have to have total quiet when I study or read, or if I'm having to watch some kind of webinar. I can't have music or any noises in the background. So the total quiet helps me. But one of the things I do is highlight and put sticky notes in places that I need to come back to so that I can remember or have a refresher, I won't have to read the entire text. I can just read those highlighted parts that remind me about what I read and the significance of either the chapter or the article. So I found that to be helpful, highlighting and sticky notes.
That's interesting. I see. I'm probably the opposite of you in many ways. I don't like quiet. I have to have something going, like a radio or something. Otherwise, I start to just feel like the whole world is vibrating, which is weird. And then with highlighting, I tend to over highlight, and then it's just the whole page is highlighted. So learning to highlight only the important parts has always been a struggle for me. What about
I
you,
know
Matt?
what you mean.
I was going to ask Matt if he wanted to speak out.
Usually I do prefer quiet, or as quiet as possible. If I do have music, it needs to be without vocals, so just purely instrumental helps out there. And Lorene reminded me, in the case of highlighting, that since our library offers a lot of books online, a lot of them will give you the option to highlight and add notes, as long as you create an account on the service that's providing the book. And that is always going to be free. You may have to look around, but we have different platforms or providers for our ebooks. So there is that capability. You just kind of have to look for it.
I've never played with that, honestly, Matt. I was aware of it, but do you know, when I had a Kindle before I accidentally stepped on it, not good for a Kindle, by the way, but in Kindle books, you can see not only what you've highlighted, but it will also tell you, like, 70% of readers of this book highlight this sentence or something like that. I'm kind of wondering if any of our library ebooks do that. It would be interesting to see.
Yeah, I don't think so. And you reminded me that, and I don't know if it's still supported, that the Kindle books also have where you can see other people's commentary. So like if you put, or notes. So if you put that in there, then you can see what other people have said, I think. But that may not be there anymore.
I wonder about, it might be an interesting study with students to see how many of them put in actual comments and how many just write like butts. Getting back to the music thing, you reminded me, I can't help but plug library resources, Matt. I'm putting a link in the chat to Naxos Music, which is one of our databases. I'm sure you know, but some of our guests might not know. Naxos, which is online music that you can listen to for free, paid for by the library, has pre-made playlists. You can make your own playlist, but you can also go into themed playlists, and they have some great study playlists, which are classical music, which is supposed to make you think better. So it's an option for people who are interested in that internet music for studying.
Oh yeah, I'm a big user of Naxos, and one of my favorite things to do is take a break. You can't study continuously all day, even if you think you want to. So taking a break to listen to calm and relaxing music, or even music that makes you want to jump around and dance, it kind of shakes off. You've been sitting for a long time, reading, studying, trying to remember. So a music break is a really good idea. I recommend it.
I'm hoping, now that I'm more grown up than when I did my first degree, that I can actually study for longer without breaks. When I was in my undergraduate, I could write for a maximum of 15 minutes, and then I would have to get up and do something. I would get up, I would wash the dishes, take a walk, reorganize my bookshelves. Like, so it would take me forever to write a paper because I would write for 15 minutes and then I would do something else for 20 minutes. So I'd like to change that ratio. And my
Breaks
roommate
are
always
good.
knew I had a paper to do because I would bring home a giant bag of gummy bears. So he would see the gummy bears and be like, paper due? Yeah, paper due. Not the best study snack, probably. The sugar might be a part of why I could only write for 15 minutes.
I don't doubt it. Gummy bears.
Any
We
tips on study snacks?
crackers and cheese, grapes, raisins, and peanuts. Those are my go-to. And then when I take a break, it has to be chocolate.
Well, you're obsessed with chocolate, though.
But yes, I know. Chocolate loves me and I love it back. So, yes.
Yeah, for the uninitiated, Lorena is a chocolate purist. She doesn't really like white chocolate or dark chocolate. It's got to be like just real chocolate.
For me, chocolate-covered coffee beans, milk or dark, always good. It gives you that little jolt.
Coffee. Yes, sounds
Do
good.
that while you study? I mean, gosh, the combination of chocolate and coffee would probably send you to the ceiling.
I might never sleep.
Where's Matt? Oh, he's up there floating.
He's been studying for 4 days. Awesome. So those are some great study tips and some great resources.
I was
Now I
taking
don't
a
know what I
look.
was talking
Oh,
about.
sorry. I was taking a look at the LibGuide link you put in there, and I like how the books scroll by themselves. There's some really great titles there as well.
Yeah, there are. I actually was pleasantly surprised some of the ones that we found. There's quite a lot in there, and there's even more that are more directed towards teachers for how to help your students study. But I try to stick on the things that were more first person.
Yeah, good.
All right. I wonder if our guest is has any questions or follow-ups. Someone with the L. Okay, maybe not. Oh, there you are. Okay, in the chat. Great. I'm glad that it's helpful to you. It's sort of a free form program, so we sort of make it up as we go. But we are all your actual librarians at UTD. Are you a student? I mean, at one of our students? Okay, no, Matt is typing. Mom of a student. Son is in class. Would use some study tips. Excellent. So it's great that you're taking an active interest in your student or in your son. Studying is very personal. Everyone has their own thing. Like, and this is in the LibGuide as well, but some people are night people and some people are morning people. Some people need music, some people don't. So it's great to sort of know what you need, and I'm sure your son will figure out what works for him. One of the biggest tips that I have, since I know we're talking to mom of a son, that you can pass on is you should study throughout the semester, not just before the final or not just when you have a paper due, to be the most effective. Ooh, a timer. Good tip, Matt. Just repeating for the sake of the recording, Matt suggested in the chat that you should invest in a timer or make good use of your iPhone or your phone's timer so you can take regular breaks. And that's a good idea. And also, I think, for the people who don't like to study, it's a little easier when you say to yourself, I'm only going to study for 20 minutes you can sort of see that it has an end point. It's not the eternal studying.
And because a mom is present, mom of a student, I will say this is like the key, most important. Don't ever forget this. Do not procrastinate. Do not put it off. Don't think you can do it at the last minute and do the best work. The best thing to do is schedule time, maybe 15, 20 minutes every day, and you jot down a little bit until that 20-page paper gets written, right, Chris? You work on it every day.
Yes, I'm trying to figure out how I can write a page or two at a time before I really know what I'm writing about, so I have sort of some boilerplate to pull from.
Yeah, it's pinning down the topic and then finding the resources. If you find the resources, sort of create your reference list right away as you gather your resources. So at least that part is finished when you start doing the in-text parentheticals or looking for great quotes. So it's like, do not procrastinate. We get students in the library who goes, it's due tomorrow.
You should have come in 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I hope that students realize, what a good resource they have, not only in us, but in like the Student Success Center, the Writing Center, the Counseling Center. Like there's all these groups on campus that are here to help students, and they all like a lot of students try to just get through without help on their own until they are well past the point of panic. And if they make more regular use of those resources earlier on, they would probably do better. For myself, I'm not at all worried about finding resources. As a librarian, I would hope I know how to find books and articles. It's more just finding ways to relate them to each other. Yeah, I think, Guest, that in response to your chat, it can be really challenging for students, especially students who did really well in high school without studying or with minimal studying, because college is combined with many times working for the first time, living alone for the first time, and all of these new social structures. It can be a real challenge and a surprise that all of a sudden you have to study if you didn't before. And then all of the things that you, in a way, it's a disadvantage, I guess, to have done well without studying in high school.
And I've put the Writing Center link into the chat, but I also want to say the library has a lot of workshops and recordings. We have, in addition to the LibGuide Chris posted, there are lots of other resources that would be useful for students.
Sorry, I'm trying to catch up with the chat. Awesome. What, Guest, since you're the only one we don't know very well, what program is your son in? That's okay. We can we'll answer in speech to your chat stuff. Computer science, that's great. That's one of our larger programs, and Matt, who is with us, Matt McCalca, is actually the liaison librarian to that program. So he's a great contact for research help and assistance when it comes to it for your son. We actually have a librarian assigned to every school on campus, so we can be more familiar with the resources and the techniques for research for those fields. So Matt, this one's one of yours.
Matt is definitely a really great resource, and he's very knowledgeable. He's probably our go-to. Chris and I are the two School of Management librarians, and they do have a, what is it called? Computer science, logistics or something degree.
Something about systems. Like it's one of their newer degrees.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's now a lot more crossover between computer science and the School of Management.
Yeah, the systems engineering is usually what is the one, like project management and that sort of systems engineering. Sorry, it's what it's called. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot more, even among the non-systems majors within School of Management. There's a lot more discussion of data mining and data processing and those sorts of resources. So I mean, everything's going on computers these days.
So true. It's the trend of the future. We're in it.
I find it amazing I'm assigned to the School of Management because I have there's nothing in my degree history that has anything to do with business.
Me too. English literature and journalism. Does not speak well. A double degree. So yeah, but we learn because the library has a huge amount of resources. And as a guest, you are welcome, our guests, to come into the library if you're local and use some of the resources or get a look at what your son has access to. Now, of course, you don't have to come into the physical building because you can take a look around the library's website online. So much of what we have now, and I think we're headed to what, 4 million items?
We're over 3. I don't know how close we are to 4 yet.
Yeah, we're heading that way. We have something that supports every degree, every school, and so it's fun to look around.
I'm looking at the library.
Yeah, look around the library online if you get a chance.
Yeah, so our total items in the collection are 3,360,357 items. So we've got a ways to go before we hit 4 million, but excuse me, we're on the path.
We're on the path.
So, well, we've got about 6 minutes left of our time. So if we want to maybe wrap up, we could, why don't we go around, this is an idea, as I'm making this up as I go, reiterate your best study tip, kind of round robin style, and then we can sign off. Oh, hold on a second. What are your thoughts about staying up late and getting up late for studying as long as it's on a regular basis? I've been thinking about the whole circadian rhythm. Do you think a sleep pattern would be okay as long as it's regular? Getting up at, say, 10 a.m. and sleeping at 3 a.m. That's a really good question, and it's hard for us to answer. I'm not, a physician, obviously, but in my experience, everybody sort of has their own circadian rhythm. I myself am a night owl. I don't really do well in the mornings, so I tend to stay up late and sleep in more. I don't think, as long as you're getting an appropriate amount of sleep and you're getting it on a regular basis, I don't see any problem with studying late and sleeping late. That works for a lot of people. And everything I've read is that just find the time that works for you, that you can consistently do it, that you're doing your best work, and then adjust your schedule to make that work.
Yeah, and I would add that I'm actually a morning person. My best time begins at 5:30, not lately. And by 2 p.m., I'm like, okay, I've done a lot today. But I think you should pace yourself through the semester. I see that look, Chris.
5:30?
Yes, you do yoga, you relax. Have a
Although
cup
I have
of
to
tea.
say, my first alarm goes off at 5:30, but I don't get up at my first alarm.
Oh, because you go to CrossFit, and then see, exercise is such a good idea. Work it in into the schedule of study, sleep, work, study. Yeah, but so I would say, what did I say before? Do not procrastinate, plan time, pace yourself, take breaks, listen to music, relax, dance to music you can jump around with, and then calm back down. Have healthy snacks, not anything that will make you hyper like Matt's chocolate covered coffee beans. If it works for you, it works for you. So those were my tips.
All right, and my go-to tip would be to know yourself, figure out what works for you, and then prioritize that in your schedule and in creating a space that you can study effectively.
Yeah, I'd say kind of going along with that. Yeah, having your own space that you're comfortable in. That's what is kind of paramount to then everything else falling into place. And I would say just good, easier said than done. And I don't practice this enough as much as I should, but just good time management as well. Really helps, take things, a long way.
Awesome. Great tips. Thank you, everybody. Consistency and time management. That's going to be a learning curve for most people. Thank you for joining us. I'm glad that you found this helpful. We will do this again next month. Lorene, do you happen to know, because January is weird because we start later in the month. When is our February coffee talk? Oh, look, let's see if I can find it. Yeah, okay, so our next coffee talk is going to be February 2nd, and after that will be first Wednesday of the month. Various topics. So I hope you or your son or any of the other people on campus will be able to join us. I'm going to sign off now. This has been McDermott Library's Coffee Talks, and everybody have a great, safe, and healthy semester.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.